Hey everybody, Eric Hayden here in the garden. Haven't done a video lately. I've been pretty busy with some projects around the yard. With this update, we're going to show you some additions to the shed, some changes that we've made. Something I'm doing with the compost pile now that it's pretty much done. You can see the wind's picking up. This is actually the remnants of Laura passing well to our north, but we may see some stormy weather here later today. And lastly, I'll show you some really nice growth on the roses, some nice blooms. I do have some black spot, but I haven't sprayed for about 6 weeks, and that really hasn't popped up until pretty much the last 10 days when we've had some rain. So if you saw our shed project, the organization, the other aspect of it, last couple of videos we went over the organization of the fertilizer, the organization of the chemicals, fungicides, insecticides. Ironically, this is the most organized it's been, and I haven't sprayed, again, at least 6 weeks. One of the reasons I stopped is things were just looking so good. I don't have rose shows this year to spray for, so I do want healthy roses going into the winter, but I'm not as picky here in August. But the first project was the shed door. The lower two hinges were not connected because of that trim was completely rotted, so we put a new strip of trim on, sanded and repainted the doors, and put a lot more screws into the door because they were starting, they're kind of like a sandwich material. Got frame on either side and then plywood in the middle, so put some liquid nails and more screws because the frame itself was coming off. So needed some TLC. It's 14 years old, and we put a latch on the door itself. Not so much security. It's more the fact that with the storms we get here, I wanted to have a nice latch that could keep it shut during wind. What I usually do in a windstorm is actually nail the top part of it. So I got a nice latch on there now for day-to-day wind, but the top of the doors I usually nail into the frame when we're having our hurricanes, which we tend to have every year here. So shed project took up a lot of time. Next project is the compost pile. It was looking terrible. It was pretty much just a weed dump of any yard debris. I did not turn it, so it was not an efficient compost pile where you would keep moist and oxygenated. By turning it, you get compost much quicker. I just use this as a dump. And despite that, you can call it cold composting. I did get a lot of compost out. So now I have a nice area of dirt and compost. I'm going to plant some boxwoods or different things there. And then the debris on top, the weeds, the leaves that have not composted, this will be my second trip to the dump. They have a vegetation area that you dump that off in, and then they turn it into compost, and you've seen those videos of mine. This was way too heavy, but it's a good old trash can to organize it all, and then I use a pitchfork and put them in those smaller 18-gallon tubs that I transport compost home from the facility. So bottom line, clean this up, got it looking good. It was kind of an eyesore. We're going to put some bushes in there now. Any new vegetation I get, I'm just going to take to the dump and then get the compost from them instead of from my own garden. So roses growing very, very well. We'll talk about the black spot issues, but these blooms are looking good. They're bigger. This is Double Delight. This is Dolly Parton. They are bigger and cleaner in terms of insects and things like that. The weather has cooled down. That's Ring of Fire. This one here is Cajun Moon. So roses are looking good. I did not have black spot for a good month there. We were just so dry. We didn't have the moisture for it. But you can see it's gotten a little crazy. So I'll pull some of those leaves off and begin my spraying. And I want to address a comment. I'll have to do it by written comment as well to make sure the gentleman sees it. Got some feedback on the YouTube channel about I must have some pretty special roses to have to spray weekly, and that I would be doing that forever. And to that gentleman, yes, I do have some special roses, and yes, I spray week to bi-weekly. There are roses that are more disease resistant that gentleman mentioned, like a knockout. I've got those. That's headliner right there. Nothing against a knockout, but I want a hybrid tea rose, something with form like I just showed you, something with fragrance like this Mr. Lincoln, and I challenge you to show me a rose that has everything, and you're not going to find it. those that have the disease resistance, that's great, especially for those that don't want to do as much in the garden and they have a place, but they don't have the coloring or the form of a hybrid tea. Now, the downside to what I grow, of course, I have got to do a little bit more maintenance. And the weekly spraying was just kind of, I mean, look at that. Can you beat that? That's Mr. Lincoln, and I wish you could smell it, because it smells even better than it looks. But the point is that weekly spraying was just to see if I could actually stay ahead of the black spot and be successful in a super humid climate. We live about 3 miles from the ocean, so it's very, very humid. And it worked. We did not have black spot for the majority of the summer, despite, you know, heavy pressure. This is European Touch. Again, just beautiful blooms now that we've cooled off a little bit. So yes, I have got some roses that need a little bit more care, but the result is you get some really, really nice roses. That's Fragrant Cloud. And I do compete in rose shows. I've won the national award at the national show. So yes, they are work, but it is worth it to me. This is a newer one, Silver Cream. And again, look at that form. So yes, you have to spray for black spot, but that form, and it holds a long time. That's beautiful. You're not going to get that from a florist rose at the store. It's kind of like a homegrown tomato. You know how much they're better from your own garden. And this has caught my attention, a newer variety that's Ring of Fire. The other comment that was made was talking about how you can prevent a lot of disease by picking up the leaf litter, because I had made a comment, sometimes I just don't have time to get to it. And that point is well taken. That is 100% true. That's Let Freedom Ring. Here's another one with a little bit more form. Yes, if you're diligent about picking up the leaf litter, that can help prevent future disease and insects, and I did a whole video on that, so I wholeheartedly agree. So my bed is mainly clean, but I see a few more leaves have fallen off, so I'll get down there and get those taken care of. So that point was definitely a good one. So just want to give an update on the garden. Again, we worked on the shed. Now we're getting the compost pile taken care of, and despite that black spot, and again, that's been very recent, and the lack of spraying, this is a newer bush, Sunny Sundays, and Crescendo tends to be shorter, but these are all over 8 feet tall. Hot Princess, Veterans Honor, Let Freedom Ring in the back is approaching that, so tremendous growth. And this new foliage is looking good, even without spraying. You'll see that I've got some insect holes. I'm not too worried about those, because if I were at a rose show, I would be, but since we're not doing shows, I'm just trying to let the bushes do their thing. You can see really, really nice growth on this Hot Princess. Should put out some new blooms shortly. The next project, it seems like I'm never ending with the deadheading. I have so many blooms with the growth. A lot of people, there's the Veterans Honor, a lot of people relate it to the Fortuniana rootstock. That's part of it, but I've got some good growth on even own root. Just as important is the climate that we have here. When I'm 78 degrees every night and 88 during the day, well into the season, I have a long growing season. So this is a Veterans Honor, just probably my favorite red rose. Mr. Lincoln is up there because of the fragrance, but this constant red, and a substance that holds. We've been hot just the last day or two, but it just holds that type of substance. If you're going to give it away to a neighbor, rose, it's just beautiful. Here's Randy Scott, a little smaller one. But anyway, the next project or next task is to do some deadheading. And despite not having shows, I think I am going to do a prune on this garden, mainly to get the bushes a little lower in case we have some hurricanes. But also when you prune, that will stimulate some growth, and that will coincide with a more substantial cooling. It's late August, early September now. By doing a nice prune now, mid to late October will be our next flush of blooms, and I can control a little bit by getting them to come during that period. So that's it. Just wanted to address the shed update, the compost, mentioned the why I spray frequently. Haven't the last 6 weeks, but reason why I do that is because I grow almost exclusively exhibition hybrid teas, so they tend to not be as disease resistant, but they either have fragrance. I have a fragrance garden, Dolly Parton, Mr. Lincoln, Double Delight, or they are grown specifically because they produce blooms like this. This is Dublin, older exhibition rose, but again, gets a little burnt edge in the sun. But look at that bloom, huge. You're not gonna have something like that from the store when you buy roses for your significant other. So that's it, folks. We'll be doing more videos as we can. I'll get this black spot cleaned up, get these roses pruned back, but for now we're going to enjoy it. You can always look at what's not going right in the garden, or you can focus on what's going right, like this silver cream. Hope everyone's healthy and well, and we will be in touch. As always, I appreciate those comments. Comment below. Thank you.